So, thank you for listening. That's all I had to say. Hopefully that's given you some flavour of where we are with the schemes, and I'm happy to take any questions now.
On the application process for a domestic RHI, we've come up with an idea where we share the ownership of the boiler with the homeowner. It's in the homeowner's name, etc. But when you come to the bank account, we want to send the money to an independent custodian who then divides it between us and the homeowner.
Yeah.
The account name will be in the homeowner's name, but the bank account will be the same every time it's an independent custodian. Would that fail or pass?
Something you probably need to check. I think actually you might know which company you're from.
Goldfield.
Yeah, we're in discussions with Goldfield about this,
right,
so you have to just check with Ofgem basically.
They've just said they don't know. That's what I've texted my colleague, they've got no idea. That's why I'm asking you.
Exactly, it's Ofgem's decision, whether it's...
They're saying they don't know, so we've just...
Well, we can take that offline. I think there's a discussion between the domestic team at RHI, the domestic team at Ofgem and your guys about how to make that work. So, in theory, I can't see any reason why that's... I can't see any reason why that shouldn't work.
And neither can we, because it's a fair way to do it, isn't it? It goes to the custodian, he divides it, and we can't take it, maybe.
This particular question is about, there's a broader issue around what we call third-party ownership. At the moment, the only person who can apply is the owner and either homeowner or the owner of the equipment, but it can't be a third party. So that means that some of these funding models is a bit more difficult in the case of the domestic scheme to make them work. Now, there are ways that can be made to work, but they need to be bought off by Ofgem. So, and there are a number of different discussions with a number of different finance providers who are looking at doing this. And if it's structured in the right way, it can meet the way that's compatible with the RHI regulations, then it can be made to work. So it sometimes takes a little while to get it all sorted out, but these things are being sorted.
It is a bit frustrating because we are sharing, it's in the homeowner's name. We're just holding it. You can have joint ownership.
Yes, joint ownership is fine.
So we're not breaking or bending the rules, it's just that we can't get this thing about the bank account.
What Ofgem are a little bit reticent to do is give people absolute guarantees before they've made the application.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is make the application and then they can judge it. I mean, it's a bit backwards.
We'd have to make two, wouldn't we, to see if it worked the second time.
If it worked the first time, then you can say, well, it works. So what they do is they establish precedent from an actual application. So
that's what they're doing, so they'll test it and it's okay.
If it's okay, it's okay, and then once they've got the precedent, then it's okay. Because there are always things that are slightly on the edge of what the they have to interpret the regulations precisely, otherwise they get into trouble. So there are some areas that end up being a bit grey, and that's one of the little grey areas, and then you just have to test it, and then once it's tested, then everyone agrees it, and then it becomes precedent, and then that's fine. So hopefully it'll be okay.
Thank you.
There's no question, yeah.
About 5 or 6 slides ago, you showed the non-domestic current tariffs. I noticed the small biomass was at something of 7.2 or 7.6.
Yes.
I thought it was 8.4, wasn't it?
Yeah, you spotted the. It's not a deliberate mistake, but.
Obviously, it's a mistake. I'm just panicking slightly about.
No, sorry, no. But that doesn't mean that we've suddenly digressed the tariff by a huge amount.
And is there any idea of what it's going to go down to in October?
No. Obviously, I can't speculate about. Just to explain what those tariffs are, those are the aggregate tariff for a 20% load factor. So the way that we compare the tariffs internally in DECC is we look at a 20% load factor. So that's across the two tiers. If 20% load factor, you would get 7.2p on average across the whole of the output. So just so we use that to compare it with the heat pumps and stuff, so we know where we are. But we haven't changed we've just got the 5% reduction from the 8.4.
So we're at 8.8 to 8.4.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So we got the 5% reduction which came in on July the 1st. Obviously there will be another consideration of the tariff in September, I think. And it's difficult to judge where it's going to end up. It depends on what happens. And we did have a huge number of applications in June, as I said, and they were all nearly all small biomass. So you might think that would tend it to be, there's a risk of it going down again. But then it really depends on what happens in the next couple of months. So if that was all of it, it may drop off. Summer tends to be a very quiet time for heating systems. All those applications came in early, so we might not get very many in the next couple of months. So then it might be finally balanced. Who knows? It's difficult to say exactly. You have to watch this space. The thing to do is, if you're interested, to keep an eye on the monthly statistics releases from the DECC. which show how many have been installed, and you'll be able to work it out. If you're good at spreadsheets, you'll figure it out. So we actually just released the statistics today on that, so latest monthly statistics, so take a look. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm pleased to hear that you're very positive about solar thermal and the use of solar thermal with biomass and heat pumps. There is a problem in that the wording of the RHI says that solar thermal systems must be designed specifically and only for domestic hot water.
Yeah.
So how can we cost effectively put in biomass boilers and heat pumps with a combination cylinder and still use solar thermal?
Yeah, this is something that we're looking at the moment. Because at the time we were doing the regulations, we couldn't figure out an easy way of accommodating space heating effectively. So anything that uses a thermal store, where the boiler and the solar thermal are heating the same thermal store, and that thermal store is used for both space heating and hot water. Currently that means the solar thermal isn't eligible. So the vast majority of installations for solar thermal are using conventional twin coil cylinders, but we appreciate that there are good technical reasons for doing what I've just described, and we're trying to find a way that we can support those. So we're looking at it basically, and we'll try and introduce that in the future, because it is it's a sound technical thing to do. We've just got to figure out a way of determining how to make the payments basically, because it's not entirely clear how to go about doing it. So we're open to suggestions basically on how we might go about working out the right payment level, whether it requires some sort of, we don't really want, whether it requires metering in some way or whatever.
Well, I think since the heat load is deemed in any event, you could then only meter the solar input, and that is fairly tried and tested.
Yeah.
Deduct that from what the metered heat load is. And that's
Just we haven't had time to figure out how to do that yet, so we're trying to figure out how to do that, and then we'll then hopefully introduce that in a future date to allow that to happen. So that's the intention.
Another question regarding swimming pools, for example. Given that the objective of the RHI is to reduce CO2 emissions ultimately, and not reimburse people for heating systems, the biggest users of heat are things like swimming pools. So why not use something like solar thermal to heat a swimming pool? Because that can be done really, really cost effectively. No cylinders, just the.
It's one of those difficult subjects. Currently, in both schemes, we don't support outdoor swimming pools. You things like leisure centres and so on in the non-domestic scheme, that's all fine. Outdoor pools aren't supported in the non-domestic scheme, and pools aren't supported at all in the domestic scheme unless they're inside the property. But then so if you, let me try and explain that. So if you have a swimming pool that's integral to your property, and you will have an EPC for that property, the EPC will give the space heating demand and hot water demand for the property, but that won't include the heating and hot water demand for the pool, because that's not included in the EPC. However, you can still then claim the domestic RHI for that property up to the deemed amount for heating and hot water for the space heating. There's nothing to stop you from using your system to heat the swimming pool as well, but the maximum you're going to get is the deemed amount for the EPC. So in that case, you can heat a swimming pool. We don't currently support standalone swimming pools. It's true, and it's something that's a policy decision that's been made at this point. We can continue to review that if it makes sense in the future to do that. Again, I think we need convincing that was the right thing to do. So it's a question of having some evidence, and if we can get some good evidence, maybe we can reconsider that. I think we remain open to it. There seems to be a philosophical problem about supporting the heating of swimming pools, especially open air swimming pools, because it's not considered a particularly useful use of heat. I think is the problem. Is it a good way? Is it a good thing to encourage? And that's a political judgment, I guess. Any more questions? Yeah.
So PVT is currently excluded from the domestic RHI. DECC, how are you getting along with plans to review that?
It's another one, like the cooker stones, is another one of the technologies that we're considering adding to the scheme. We're trying to create a standardised process now for new technologies, because we don't we haven't had a methodology for getting the right evidence in for these things. PVC is one that we didn't have any evidence on. We had very little to go on when we were putting the original scheme together, so it's currently not in. It's not in because we deliberately excluded it, it's just we didn't have any evidence about it at the point that we were doing the regulations. We can see that there may be good reasons to support it. DECC is supporting a number of the manufacturers of PVC, who are UK-based manufacturers like Newform and so on, with innovation funding to get their products to market. So it's obviously something that we think is a good technology if it can be made to work. We just need a bit more evidence on it, and we're going through that process at the moment of working out what's the evidence we need, and then how do we introduce it into the scheme later. So I'd say it's our intention to support it, and our intention to support other technologies if they, if they prove to be good contributors of potential heat.
Could that be within the next year, or do you think it's a sort of a longer term process than that?
I don't know, to be honest. It may be possible in the next year, but I think maybe more like 2016 would be realistic. Yeah.
Thermodynamics, where do you see that sitting at the moment?
Again, that's another one of the technologies that you put in the we don't know camp. I think MCS are doing some work on it at the moment. They put out a consultation on it recently, if I'm right. Trying to get some evidence on that. Again, evidence-based, we can look at the performance. We've got to establish how it works, how do we pay for it, what's the deeming methodology that we'd use. So there's a bunch of things that we need to work out, but we're open again to how that might be. Those things may be added in the future if we can get the right evidence.
Just clarification on what you said earlier. If you've got a large domestic property, it's okay to heat it with cascading biomass systems as long as they don't go over 45 each.
Yeah. That's checked with the MCS. There's a detailed guidance note from MCS on exactly how that works. It's quite complicated, but essentially yes, it's provided each of the individual boilers is below 45 kilowatts. You can cascade them up into as many as you like. It's a bit of a workaround, it's a bit of a fudge, but it does allow that to happen.
Yeah.
It's not particularly desirable to have 4 45 kilowatt boilers doing a 200 kilowatt demand.
And they all get 12.2p domestic, yeah.
So up to the EPC, so if you've got a 80,000 kilowatt hour EPC or whatever, same process will apply. Any more questions?
Just staying on that point, would you need a single controller over those devices cascaded together to make it a single system?
There are some guidance in that MCS document about what constitutes a system, what constitutes an installation, and that's where they got into some interesting semantics around defining what is the system and what's the boundary, and what's the heat demand for that particular section of the overall system and so on. So I think I'd recommend you check the MCS guidance. Provided that they are installed as a unit, so they are presumably controlled from the same point. I don't know, I wouldn't want to say definitively. You need to check what MCS said about it. It should be possible to do it. Any other questions? No? Well, thanks very much.